Welcome to the 6th episode of Serial Killers of the World, where we delve into the dark histories of the world's most notorious crimes. Today, we jump into the story of Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker who terrorized Southern California in the hot summer of 1985. In the mid-1980s, Los Angeles was a sprawling metropolis of sun, surf, and glamour. But during that sweltering summer, a dark and demonic presence turned the City of Angels into a landscape of pure paranoia. Richard Ramirez was a drifter who claimed allegiance to Satan, embarking on a chaotic, random campaign of violence that locked the doors of an entire state. He did not target a specific group. He attacked anyone, anywhere, without pattern, motive, or warning. We will walk down this dark corridor of history together, examining the pieces of evidence that were gathered from the cold crime scenes, tracing the exact footsteps of the investigators who chased a shadow, and asking what psychological forces drive a man to step from the light of society into the deepest dark. As the temperature soared past 100 degrees, the fear rose even higher. The City of Angels was about to live through its darkest summer, where the simple act of leaving a window open for a breeze could invite a monster into your home. Imagine this. Listen carefully, because once you hear this story, you will realize that the locking of a door is the only thing standing between you and a nightmare. Imagine the summer of 1985. Los Angeles is experiencing a record-breaking heat wave. But despite the sweltering heat, families are sleeping with their windows bolted, doors barricaded, and lights left burning all night. Because in the dark, a predator is creeping through backyard fences and open windows. He attacks with random, chaotic brutality, leaving satanic pentagrams drawn on the walls and forcing survivors to swear allegiance to the devil. His name was Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. The terror began to take shape in the spring. In Rosemead, on March 17, 1985, he entered the home of 34-year-old Dale Okazaki and shot her dead. Her roommate, Maria Hernandez, survived by throwing her hands up, the bullet miraculously ricocheting off her keys. Later that same night, Ramirez dragged Tsai Lian Yu from her car in Monterey Park and shot her, leaving her to die in the street. 10 days later, he attacked Vincent Zazara and his wife Maxine in their Whittier home, committing acts of mutilation so gruesome that they haunted the responding officers for decades. Ramirez cruised residential neighborhoods in stolen cars, looking for unlocked doors or windows left open for ventilation. Once inside, he was a force of pure chaos. He used handguns, knives, iron bars, and hammers. He attacked young couples, children, and the elderly. He would steal jewelry and electronics, draw pentagrams on the walls and the bodies of his victims, and force them to scream, "I love Satan." Gun sales soared to historic heights. Hardware stores sold out of locks, and security companies were overwhelmed. The police task force was baffled. There was no geographical consistency, no pattern, and no signature other than the absolute brutality of the scenes. In May, he targeted 83-year-old Mabel Bell and her sister Florence Lang in Monrovia. He beat them brutally, drawing a pentagram on Mabel's thigh. In June, he attacked Carol Kyle in Burbank, assaulting her and forcing her to swear allegiance to Satan. Every neighborhood felt unsafe. The police struggled to find a lead, as the killer left behind nothing but footprints from a rare Avia sneaker and the terrifying symbols of his occult obsession. I'm your host, and for the next 10 minutes, we are hunting the stalker of the night. Hold on tight. The Summer of Terror. As July turned into August, the pace of the attacks accelerated. On July 7th, he murdered 63-year-old Joyce Lucille Nelson in Monterey Park. Later that month, he killed Maxon and Leela Quenighting in Glendale. In August, he entered the home of Chainarong and Samkid Kovanet in Sun Valley, killing the husband and assaulting the wife. The public hysteria reached a boiling point. The mayor of Los Angeles and the police department held daily press conferences, warning citizens to lock their homes. But the stalker seemed like a ghost, vanishing into the night after every strike. The breakthrough finally came on August 17, 1985, when Ramirez drove to San Francisco. He entered the home of Peter and Barbara Pan, shooting Peter in his sleep and assaulting Barbara. But this time, he made a critical mistake. A neighbor noticed a suspicious, dirty orange Toyota station wagon idling nearby and wrote down the license plate number. The car was later found abandoned in Los Angeles. Homicide detectives immediately sealed the vehicle and brought in forensic experts. On the steering wheel, they recovered a single, clear fingerprint. The print was run through the newly computerized database, matching Richard Ramirez, a 25-year-old drifter from El Paso, Texas, with a history of theft and drug offenses. The police now had a name and a face, but they did not know where he was. Rather than waiting, they decided to enlist the public. On the morning of August 31st, 1985, Ramirez's mugshot was splashed across the front page of every newspaper and broadcast on every television channel in California. The computerized print analysis was a brand new technology at the time. Without it, Ramirez might have remained a ghost. The print showed that he had been arrested multiple times for traffic violations and minor thefts, yet had somehow slipped through the cracks. Now, his face was everywhere, but Ramirez was completely unaware. He had spent the previous day in Arizona visiting his brother, and on that very morning, he was boarding a bus back to Los Angeles, carrying a bag of stolen goods, stepping directly into a trap of his own making. In San Francisco, the local police department had been on high alert, but Ramirez had managed to slip past the city lines. The attack on the Pan residence shocked the northern city, prompting the mayor of San Francisco to offer a large reward. The orange station wagon had been stolen days earlier, and its recovery was the turning point the investigators had spent months praying for. When the fingerprint match came back, it was a race against time to capture him before he could strike again. The Stalker's End. When the bus pulled into the station in downtown Los Angeles, Ramirez stepped off and walked into a convenience store. As he looked at the newspapers, he saw his own face staring back at him. Panic set in. He fled the store, running across the busy Santa Ana freeway, desperately trying to find a getaway. He attempted to hijack a woman's car, but she fought back, screaming for help. Ramirez ran down Hubbard Street in East Los Angeles, trying to steal another vehicle. But this was East Los Angeles, a tight-knit community that had lived in fear for months. Neighbors recognized him immediately. The shout went out, El Matador, the Stalker. A group of residents, led by Faustino Pinon and Manuel de la Torre, chased him down. They cornered him, and a crowd formed, beating him with fists and metal pipes, venting months of terror and frustration. When the police finally arrived, they had to rescue Ramirez from the angry mob. The reign of terror was over. At his trial in 1989, Ramirez showed absolute contempt for the court, his victims, and the justice system. He wore dark sunglasses, flashed a pentagram drawn on his palm, and shouted "Hail Satan" at the news cameras. He was convicted of 13 counts of murder, 5 counts of attempted murder, and 11 sexual assaults, and sentenced to death. On death row, he remained unrepentant, marrying a fan and receiving hundreds of letters. He died of lymphoma in June 2013, never showing remorse. Richard Ramirez's capture remains a landmark moment, a rare instance where the citizens themselves stood up and put an end to a demonic shadow, reclaiming their city from the summer of fear. During his time on death row at San Quentin State Prison, Ramirez's behavior remained bizarre. He frequently taunted guards and visitors, and his cell was filled with occult literature. His death in a hospital in Marin County ended one of the darkest chapters in California history, but the scars he left on the survivors and the families of the victims never healed. The locked doors and windows of Southern California suburban homes serve as a lasting monument to the summer when a monster walked among them. This has been the 6th episode of Serial Killers of the World. I'm your host. Sleep well, if you can.